What's up, everybody? So this is going to be a competitive guide on Generation 9's brand new grass starter, Meowscarada. And Game Freak's really been pumping out some really good competitive starters recently, and Meowscarada is no exception. So let's hop straight into it. Meowscarada is a grass dark type, and a lot of people clown on grass dark for being a really bad defensive typing. And low key, you do actually get some nice resist with it, but there's a lot of really common weaknesses here. I can't lie. There's a ton of common weaknesses, and then a 4x bug weakness to add insult to injury. It's definitely a bit of a mess defensively. But with Meowscarada having Protean, we're not actually going to be playing with this dual typing in a lot of situations, so it's not as much of a downside on Meowscarada as it would be on a lot of other Pokemon. Looking at Meowscarada's stats, we see that it has 76 HP with 70 in both its defense and special defense stats. So it's pretty frail, definitely not a tanky mon at all. Pretty similar bulk overall to things like Cinderace and Greninja in the past. We do have 110 attack though, which is pretty good. 110 attack is good. It's not like insanely strong, but 110 attack is good for sure. The 81 special attack here isn't important, so we're just going to ignore that. And we have 123 speed, which is insanely fast. 123 speed makes us faster than pretty much every relevant Pokemon in the OU metagame except for Dragapult and Shenpao. You're faster than like Roaring Moon and Garchomp and Palmot and Iron Valiant and a bunch of other really fast threats in the tier. So 123 is definitely an amazing speed tier to have. It's actually the second fastest starter we've ever had. Fastest if you don't count Mega Sceptile. I mean, I guess technically Ash Greninja as well was faster, but you don't start off with that speed, but that's besides the point. Meowscarada is really fast. It's really fast. Looking at the abilities, we have Overgrow, which is the standard grass starter ability. 50% stronger grass moves when you're under 1/3 HP. There actually is a really popular set that I'll go into later that utilizes Overgrow, but you're probably going to see Protean the most often. That is Meowscarada's hidden ability, and it is the third starter we've gotten with this ability, with the aforementioned Cinderace and Greninja being the other two. I guess Cinderace technically has Libero or whatever, but it's the exact same ability. But yeah, Cinderace and Greninja were really good Pokemon, maybe a little too good, and because of that, Protean's actually been nerfed this generation. So the way Protean used to work was whenever you used a move, you switch to that move's type, giving you stab on every single move that you used. Now you only switch types for the first move that you click. So you can't switch types again unless you switch out and come back and do the same thing. Like you can't like use one move and then use another move and switch to that type and then use another move to switch to that type. So I mean, this is a pretty decent nerf, especially to like heavy duty boots or Life Orb Vortex sets that really abuse switching the types constantly. But honestly, Protean's still a good ability. You can still change your type and get stab on any coverage move that you want. You just can't do it repeatedly. A lot of Pokemon would still kill to have Protean. It's still a great ability. It's just not as crazy as it used to be. So with that being said, let's get straight into some sets. First sets we'll go over are the choice sets. So we were just talking about the Protean nerf and how you can only change your type to the first move that you can click. The thing is, with running a choice item on Meowscarada though, is the first move that you click is the only move that you can click, so the nerf is completely irrelevant on choice sets. It's like having old Protean, there's like no difference if you use a choice item. So choice items, especially Banded, like more so than Scarf, are going to be really good options on her. Now, getting into some of the actual moves you get to use, the first one we have to go over is Meowscarada's signature move, Flower Trick. So, Flower Trick is a 70 base power grass move that always crits and never misses. So it's effectively a 105 base power stab grass move. So this is going to be a really strong move, but the fact that it auto crits is actually like the best part about it and what makes it so amazing currently. Because it auto crits, you get to ignore defensive boosts from stuff like Iron Defense Garganical, Bulk Up Annihilate, Dondozo Tatsugiri, and other things, and these are all like super common things that you see in VGC and OU. Not only that, but you get to ignore screens, which is big because Grimmsnarl is another thing that you see a lot in VGC and OU right now as well. And yeah, and Flower Trick obviously just ignores that completely. And Flower Trick also ignores the effects of Intimidate, which is another really good thing, more so for VGC. because a lot of physical Pokemon right now are reliant on Clear Amulet to get around Intimidate, so you don't even have to run that on Meowscarada, because you could throw out powerful Flower Tricks that ignore the stat drop from Intimidate, so that's really good right now. You also get Knockoff, which is still the best move in the game in my opinion, but Knockoff nowadays is actually super rare, so being a Pokemon with it is really good. And having Stab Knockoff off of 110 attack means that Meowscarada is actually the strongest knockoff user in the entire game, which is kind of crazy. You also get stuff like Stab U-Turn, which is great, because Meowscarada, with this coverage and this speed, forces switches constantly. You get Play Rough, which is also really good. There's not a lot of good fairies in the game right now, so a lot of people are spamming like Dark types and Dragon types. And Dark are naturally going to be some switch-ins for Dark moves, and Dragons are naturally going to be some switches for Grass moves. So having that fairy coverage to round it out is really nice to punish those. Being a fast fairy type is just really good. You also get stuff like Sucker Punch. You can never go wrong with Stab Priority. It also lets you function against like the really fast Tailwind teams in VGC and the slower Trick Room teams. Priority is just a good tool. And Trick's something that I run on a lot of my choice sets, because you just get to cripple some of the defensive Pokemon like Corviknight that just want to switch into you constantly. You give Corviknight a Choice Scarf or a Choice Band, he kind of is like, he doesn't really get to function in the same way. You could also run stuff like Thunder Punch for Corviknight if you want, but these are some of the better options on Choice in my opinion. You have a lot of stuff you can run on Choice though. Like Meowscarada has tons of good moves. You even have stuff like Shadow Claw and Brick Break and all kinds of things. Like this mon has no shortage of good moves. And then as for nature, I like Jolly, just because when I'm in this speed tier, I want to just outspeed as many things as possible. I will say though, in VGC in particular, you probably can get away with Adamant, because you're still faster than Garchomp, and a lot of the Pokemon you actually want Jolly for to outspeed, like Iron Moth, Iron Valiant, Iron Jugulis, Roaring Moon. A lot of those paradoxes that you need Jolly to outspeed are not even legal in VGC currently, so Adamant, if anything, might actually be a little bit better. Looking at this set, this is like a heavy-duty boot set. Obviously, I talked about it a little bit earlier. This set's a little bit worse than it would have been in the past, because obviously if you're switching around your moves constantly, you're only going to have Stab on that very first move. It's not horrible though, because you're still a really fast Pokemon with momentum that can knock off items, and obviously you get stuff like Spikes and Toxic Spikes, so you get hazards too. Like, it definitely can work as like a fast pivot. I would say I prefer Choice though, just because a lot of mons get hazards. I don't think you need to use Meowscarada as your hazard setter, or when so many Pokemon got spikes this generation. I think you can just use this more as like a breaker or a cleaner with Scarf, and that's a better use of it. But this isn't like a bad set at all. Like, this is definitely something you could run on some teams to enable some of your other mons. So this set here is a set that's been really popular in VGC lately that doesn't actually utilize Protean at all. This is an Overgrowth set with Focus Sash. So the main point of this one is Focus Sash allows you to at least live one hit, and if you do take that one hit and you fall below 130 HP, you're gonna obviously proc Overgrow, and you can just throw off ridiculously powerful flower tricks, especially if you're like Terrestrial Grass. Then you just throw off monster flower tricks. That's definitely been something that people have been abusing a lot with Meowscarada. Meowscarada in general has just been super popular in VGC because it's just good. It's good into like all styles. It's just Flower Trick's such an amazing move for it. Like, the moves are just really, really good. Like, you have Prio, you have Knockoff. You could run U-Turn too. And honestly, you could run Protean if you want instead of Overgrow, especially if you want to get like Stab U-Turn. But I would say if you're not running U-Turn, there's zero reason to run Protean, because, I mean, there's no point of Protean if there's no coverage moves you're really abusing it for. So like, if you're just going to use Grass and Dark moves anyway, Overgrow is actually just better. So yeah, this is another set that's been really, really good for Meowscarada recently, and one I definitely wanted to mention for sure. Looking at Meowscarada's like Terra options, like I said a little bit earlier, Grass is a great one. Your Flower Tricks are just going to be disgusting. Banded or not, like, your Flower Tricks are just going to do so much damage. Dark is a good option too. You can go Fairy rather for really strong play roughs, or Electric if you want to like Banded, like Electric, Terra, T-Punch, like Oko's Corviknight and stuff. So I mean, the thing with like terrestrialization is, since you change your types with Protean, you don't really need to Terra defensively as much. You really just want to like abuse like the adaptability stab boost on whatever moves you're clicking, and that's like how Meowscarada is typically going to use terrestrialization. Some other moves that Meowscarada has, I think Trick Room is a sneaky good option. It might seem weird to use Trick Room on a Pokemon this fast, but the reason I like Trick Room on Meowscarada is you're naturally going to be faster than a lot of Pokemon, but like against Tailwind, Trick Room actually lets you flip the script. A lot of people don't expect it, and deal with Tailwind teams. But Trick Room is also nice because you get to reverse Trick Room on the actual Trick Room teams. It just like gives you an option against both fast and slow teams. It might be a little bit niche, but I actually have used it. It's pretty good. Fast Trick Room setters are nothing crazy. Like we saw when Fluttermane was in the like first couple weeks when people were playing Fluttermane, a lot of people were playing Trick Room Fluttermane with like Torkoal, so it's nothing we haven't seen. Fake Tears is like nice to enable your special attackers. Taunts, like, you know, a fast taunter is always a nice option, especially because you're a fast taunter that can actually taunt dark types, unlike the Prankstermons, so that's good. Obviously, like I talked about earlier, stuff like Shadow Claw, Brick Break, you know, you have coverage options, like, you know, there's a lot of stuff that Meowscarada can do. Overall, Meowscarada is definitely like one of the best Pokemon in the game in VGC right now. It's definitely been surging in popularity. I know a lot of people in OU consider Meowscarada good, but not great. I do think Meowscarada is probably a little bit underrated. I think it has a lot of potential to be really good. I think a Protean Pokemon with 123 speed and like this coverage is always going to have a chance to do things in a lot of games. Corv is annoying. Some of these like really Pokemons are annoying, but I think Meowscarada definitely has a place in the OU tier, and I think it clearly has a place in VGC. This is a great mon that's definitely worth putting on your teams in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet at the moment. And that's going to conclude this competitive guide on it. Thanks for watching. I'm going to have competitive guides on every single brand new Pokemon in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, as well as other content related to the game. So make sure to like the video, subscribe, do all of that, and I'll see y'all next time.